Hi everyone, it's Andrea from Movers and Bakers. Today I'm going to share with you how I make my New York style Biscoff cookies. They are thick, chunky cookies crammed full with Biscoff flavour. You're going to love them. Let's get baking. So to start with, I have set my oven to preheat. It's a bit hotter than my usual cookies. I've set it at 200 degrees. I will put all the information you need for this recipe in the link below this video, so you can catch up then if you want to. But I'm preheating my oven at 200 degrees and I've lined a couple of baking sheets with some parchment paper so that I am ready to go. These cookies do not chill like most of my other cookies do. They get made and they go straight in the oven. So there is no chill time at all, which is why I prepared those things. Now, let's get started with this. So first of all, I'm going to put my butter into my bowl. This is 115 grams of unsalted butter. And to that, I am also going to add some Biscoff. This is 60 grams of Biscoff spread. I'm using the smooth spread. I've never tried this with the crunchy spread, but I'm sure it would work with that as well. So we'll pop it all into my bowl. I want to whisk this up until it is soft and smooth and starting to get a little bit fluffy before I do the next step. Right, that is just mixed together so both are combined. So to that, I'm going to add my sugars. I have here 100 grams of soft light brown sugar and I have 50 grams of caster sugar. We're going to mix that through as well. And to this mixture, I am going to add 1 egg and mix that in again as well. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just mixing it until it's combined and I'm stopping right there. So now it's time to add my dry ingredients in. Okay, so I've got my wet ingredients done. I'm going to sift my dry ingredients in. So I have 215 grams of plain flour, 2 teaspoons of corn flour. I always add corn flour into my cookies. I find that it makes them really chewy and lovely and soft, and it stops them drying out in the oven. So that's my corn flour, and I've got half a teaspoon each of baking soda, baking powder, and last but not least, salt. I always add salt into my sweet bakes just because I find that enhances the flavour. So even though it's something more associated with savoury, I would really encourage you to not skimp on the salt at all. So I'm just sifting this in, and then I'm just going to mix it until it is just combined. So now that's sifted in, I'm going to mix it. Now this is really important. You want to not over mix it. You want to make sure that when you mix it together, it has to come together in clumps. You don't want it to be a really smooth, creamy cookie dough mixture like we would normally do. You want it to be before it starts to get to that stage. So it will literally take you about 10 or 15 seconds to get to that stage. And that is it. That is where I'm going to stop. Now I know my flour and my dry ingredients aren't quite mixed in, but because I'm adding some extras in, I don't want to mix it in too much. I want to mix those through as well. Right, so now that that is almost mixed together, my final ingredients I'm going to add are some extra Biscoff-y flavour. I'm going to put actual biscuits in. I'm just going to break them up as I put them in, and I just find this gives not only that extra flavour, but it gives extra texture as well, which I think is quite nice. So I'm just breaking it up into, let me show you another one, before it falls out of my hand, just roughly that kind of size chunks, really roughly. It doesn't matter if it's a bit bigger or a bit smaller, but you just want to break them up into chunky sized Biscoff pieces. And if a bit of crumbage goes in there as well, that's fine too. Don't forget, if you do enjoy my videos, to subscribe and like this video and let me know if you make it. If you enjoy Biscoff as much as I do, don't forget I've got a couple of other cookie recipes as well that you can try out. Check them out in my channel videos or in the card above. And that's all my biscuits crumbled in. Now to that, I'm also going to add 100 grams in total of white chocolate chips. Now I'm not going to put all of that in. I'm going to save a little handful of them aside because I'm going to stud my cookies with them once I've got my cookies all set to go in the oven. So I'm just going to keep a small handful aside, as you can see, and the rest of these are going in there as well. Right, and then I'm going to very, very gently just stir all this through And what that's going to do is evenly distribute the extra ingredients I've added in, but you can see I'm doing it really, really gently because I don't want to compress my cookie dough and make it compacted like I normally do. I want to keep the air in my cookie dough so that when I put my biscuits, my cookies together, they're going to be lovely, big, chunky, tall creations rather than your usual compacted cookies. Now I have actually tried this, my usual cookie method of compacting it. So I would use a scoop normally if you've seen any of my other videos, but I'm not doing that on this occasion because what I find is the scoop actually compacts the dough, and that means that there's not air in it, so it spreads out a lot more, it melts, and you get a much thinner cookie. If you want to get the lovely thick chunky cookies, New York style cookies, this is the way to do it. So as you can see, my dough is actually really quite soft and sticky, and that's exactly what you want it to be. But you don't want it to be a really smooth dough, so you can see it's quite clumpy and lumpy, and that's exactly what I want it to be. So I've mixed those extra ingredients in completely. I'm just pushing this off my spatula. So now I'm ready to get my cookies together on my baking sheets. So I have my weighing scale here. Now this will make about 7 to 8 cookies, and you can just eyeball it if you want to, but I actually really like weighing them just so I know that my cookies are evenly weighted, so they'll cook evenly and they'll cook at the same kind of rate and temperature. So I've got my weighing scales, and each of my cookies is going to weigh around about 100 grams. So if I swap these around so I can get to it more easily, all I'm going to do, obviously my hands are clean, I have washed them every time I bake, and I'm just going to very loosely, you can see that it's all completely falling apart, so I'm not squishing it together at all at this stage. I'm just putting enough into this bowl while I weigh it out to get 100 grams, roughly. So if it's 98, I'm not going to complain. And then once I've got my 100 grams, I'm gonna grab this mixture that I've got in here, and I'm just very, very gently, and very awkwardly, I'm going to just squeeze it together until it's just holding together as one lump. So you can see there that is barely squeezed together. There are lots of gaps. There are lots of holes where I've not squished the mixture together to close it like I normally would with a cookie. And I'm just going to very carefully pop that on my cookie sheet. That is how my cookie is going to go in the oven. And what happens with that, because of the air, it doesn't flatten out, it doesn't spread like a normal cookie does. It cooks as it is in its shape, so it stays lovely and chunky. So I'm going to do that with the rest of this mixture, and once I'm done with that, those a few white chocolate chips that I have left over from before, I'm just going to use a few of them and push them into my dough, just so we've got some lovely white chocolate chunks on the outside of the cookie, and that just makes it look really nice. So once those are done, I'm going to pop them straight in my oven. I can only fit 4 to a tray, which is why I have 2 trays. I'm going to put them straight in the oven. They're going to bake for 9 minutes. Once they are out of the oven, this is the other really, really important thing. You need to leave the cookies on the cookie sheet to cool down completely for about half an hour. And what that's going to do is, because the baking tray is still warm, your cookies will keep cooking, so they won't look done when you pull them out, but they will keep cooking while they're on the tray. And by the time you take them off, they're going to be beautiful. So I will see you on the other side once my cookies are baked and you can see what they look like, the finished product. See you shortly. Welcome back. So my cookies are out of the oven. I have left them to cool completely on the trays, and now it's just the moment of truth. So your cookies will be lovely and brown, they'll be lovely and golden on the outside, but they will be soft still in the middle. And there you have it. That's absolutely beautiful. You can see the chunks of Biscoff through there and the white chocolate. Absolutely gorgeous. They're going to be beautiful and chewy in the middle and lovely and crisp on the outside. You're going to love these. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like this video and do subscribe. I shall see you next time. Happy baking.